Ciao, amici, and welcome back to Experience Italy with Friends. Today, we're diving into something that is found on every table, in every kitchen, and deeply woven into the culture of this country. It's Italy's liquid gold, olive oil. After touring a Frantoio in the Chianti region and learning firsthand how olive oil is made, we discovered it's far more complex and far more similar to wine than we ever imagined. So in today's episode, we're joined by Katy Lapini from Frantoio Pruneti to talk about the culture of olive oil in Italy, how it's grown, harvested, produced, tasted, and why it means so much more here than most people realize. Let's get started. Andiamo! Experience Italy with Friends is a travel and lifestyle podcast where we will explore our favorite destinations and hidden gems, share key travel tips and cultural insights, and provide real-time updates about our move to this remarkable country. Join me, Tanya Razzo, an Italian travel expert and founder of Amici Vacations, and my Italian husband and producer, Davide Razzo, on a journey that is sure to inspire you and prepare you to create immersive and authentic experiences of your own in the beautiful country of Italy. Ciao, everyone, and thanks for joining us again. I'm Tanya, and as always, I'm here with my husband and co-host, Davide.
Ciao a tutti and welcome back. So today, we are going to talk about something very important in Italy. Very serious business, Tanya.
Very serious. Olive oil. I mean, it's not just a condiment here.
No, it's almost like religion. And honestly, I'm not sure which is more important, olive oil or wine. It would be interesting to ask somebody,
I wonder how everyone would vote, probably say both. You can't live without either.
So Tanya, besides using olive oil every day, what inspired you this episode?
Well, as many of you know, I'm constantly researching experiences for clients and, I want to see things firsthand before I recommend them. So last fall during olive oil harvest season, I thought it would be really interesting to learn how olive oil is actually produced. I'd never seen it. And, I asked one of the tour guides I partner with to join me, and we toured a couple of Frantoi in the Chianti region, along with, of course, a winery or two.
Of course, you had to stop at a winery in the Chianti region. You wouldn't miss that opportunity, right, Tanya? Okay, so what did you think of the Frantoi?
We visited two very different ones. The first was smaller and more rustic, mainly producing oil for local farmers and families for their own consumption. It was very charming and very authentic.
Okay.
Then we toured Pruneti, which is larger, more technical, a little more commercial, but equally committed to organic practices and high-quality production.
So you didn't see any donkeys, going around the stone press there?
No, but I kind of wanted to. No, it wasn't like that at all. The equipment is massive and very modern. But, here's where I had my big aha moment. As they explained the different olive varietals and blending methods, it suddenly clicked like olive oil is a lot like wine. It's not just good or bad. When we talk about quality, there are actually different flavors, different intensities. Some are buttery, some are peppery. And the only way to understand what you like is to taste them. And yes, olive oil tastings are absolutely a thing. Like, I didn't know that. And, that's when I came home and said, okay, this needs to be an episode, Davide. We have to go back.
And so a couple of weeks ago, we did, right? So that's when we met Katy Lapini from the Frantoio Pruneti, and we're thrilled she agreed to join us and share what we learned with you all today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have her here and dive into the special world of Italian olive oil. But, before we do, we thought we'd share a quick life update from Montepulciano because it's been another busy couple of weeks.
Very busy. But it's kind of our own fault, right, Tanya?
It is. We just can't seem to sit still, even if it means we are up working through the middle of the night.
I know.
But first, we've been meeting more expats here in town. And, that's been really fun to be a bit more social. When we first moved here, we were so focused on meeting locals and figuring out how to fit in. And, I was almost afraid to reach out to expats and have that connection to back home when we just got here. But, I was listening to our friend Sam Wilson on her New Life in Italy podcast, and she said, it's okay to meet other expats. It helps the transition. It's not like cheating. And she's right. It's helpful to compare notes and connect with people who understand what it's like to pick up your life and move to another country. And, our friends back in the US and our Italian friends here try to understand, why we would do what we did. But you don't fully get it unless you're also a little crazy and also do it.
Exactly. And little by little, we are, building our own social circle. And we're meeting not only Americans, we've met Dutch and Brits, Irish, Indian. And, each of them, they had their own journey to come to Italy. And,
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love it. And, it's been really special. And we've had a lot of fun being social. But we also attended our second annual Anteprima Vino Nobile event here in Montepulciano. And, this is the big preview tasting of the new vintages, and it marks our 1-year anniversary of being here.
Yes. Serious wine business, Tanya. But it felt very different this year, I think. It felt more like, a neighborhood gathering because we know so many more people. We know so many producers now. And we even ran into the restaurant owner from Cortona. We just ate at Saturday. And that was funny. I thought that.
I know, seeing people was my favorite part. Like we were saying hello left and right, stopping to chat. I didn't realize how many people in wineries we've gotten to know. And, maybe it was a good diversion from drinking too much wine and slowing us down a bit.
Yeah, but that was definitely the best part,
What, the wine or the people?
The wine, of course, and the people. No, okay, you got me there, Tanya. You got me. But the biggest news happened this morning.
Yes, we officially, drumroll, closed on our new apartment in the historic center.
I never thought this day would come, Tanya.
Me either.
It took us months of searching and viewing and do some paperwork, and we got some twists and turns, and it's finally ours.
It is, I'm still a little bit on a high, so maybe that's why I sound so excited. But honestly, the notaio process, this morning wasn't that different from closing in the U.S., in my opinion. Like, it was lots and lots of signatures.
You think so?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was because in the U.S., you just go in and sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. But here in Italy, they actually read you the whole, they call it l'atto, the act, but it's the contract, you sign. So they read word by word the whole contract.
Well, then I'm thankful it was only like 5 pages.
And so it was all in Italian, poor Tanya. And
I'm just nodding. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yep. And it said in the act in Italian, of course, that you understand Italians. And then you kind of like, I do. Anyway, but I'm really happy to call ourselves Poliziani officially. Time to put down some roots, Tanya.
Yes, it is. Finally. And speaking of roots, that's actually a perfect lead into today's topic because so much of life here revolves around the land. We just talked about the wine, the olives, we've talked about harvest season, and it all really reflects local pride in what this land produces.
Yeah, and if wine is one pillar of the Tuscan culture, I think olive oil is definitely another one.
Exactly. And after touring a couple of Frantoio in the Chianti region, first back in November during harvest season and then again a few weeks ago, we realized there is so much more to olive oil than most of us understand. It's not just something you cook with, it's tradition, it's family, it's craftsmanship. And we're so excited to welcome Katy Lapini from Frantoio Pruneti to help us understand Italy's liquid gold from tree to bottle. Katy, welcome. We're so excited to have you here with us on Experience Italy with Friends. And, let's start off with just telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, Pruneti, your role there, and, how you became involved in this world of olive oil.
Okay, got it. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm here basically representing Pruneti. And Pruneti, it's a family business because Pruneti family has always been producing extra virgin olive oil here in Chianti Classico area. Especially we are in San Polo in Chianti. And I could say that it's more than 4 generations that Pruneti family is producing extra virgin olive oil. And nowadays, the two owners, Johnny and Paolo Pruneti, represent, the 4 generations, and they are two brothers. I can describe them as two complementary brothers because Johnny has a passion and faith for farming and Paolo for business. So somehow they look perfect to run the company together.
A good compliment.
Of course, and this permit us to move ahead, both bringing with us the culture of our family, so all the knowledge, awareness, and about farming, of course, and then basically matching it with all the new information about how to spread the culture of this product worldwide. So actually, we are not just producing extra virgin olive oil. We are trying every day to produce it like the best, following and trying to reach the excellence of this product. Of course, starting from the farming part, going ahead with the best technologies in the olive mill, and then at least trying to communicate this product to the final consumers through the experience and exploration that we organize every day here at the mill, together with communication through social medias, website, and so on. So we are always trying to give all the consumers all the information to be aware and conscious consumers in order to know how and why to select high quality extra virgin olive oil.
Okay.
Awesome.
So for you that you work with olive oil every day, so what do you think it's something that people that are outside of Italy, something that they don't understand about olive oil?
I think that there's nothing they do not understand about olive oil. It's all related to the information. There's a kind of lack of information about the product. So no one has taken care about a consumer, trying to give them the information necessary to know why to select and what to select in terms of extra virgin olive oil. Most of the time, the missing information start from the knowledge of the definition of the product. So no one knows what extra virgin olive oil means. So how could you know what to buy if you don't know what you're actually buying, right? So it looks so simple because definitely extra virgin olive oil is just the pure fruit juice of the olives. But if no one takes time to let you know, you will never know.
Speaking of the product, so let's move to harvesting the olives and the production of the oil. Can you walk us through like what goes into production from picking and to the finished product?
Sure, of course. I would like to bring you with me in the Pruneti process. Okay. So somehow I would like to highlight this importance of Pruneti process because we take care of everything from the farming to the picking, processing, storing, bottling. This is important because this is the most crucial part to get the best. Only following step by step and carefully checking each step of the production, we can be sure about what we are getting. So, of course, we start with the farming part, as I said. So we take care about pruning and fertilizing, and we are organic. This is important because it permits us to preserve our landscape, our soil, the terroir. That basically is what makes the main difference for the product. Because you know that the most characteristics part of the Chianti classical olive oil comes from the terroir. This terroir made of galestro that give us fruits full of flavor, extremely intense. So then we take care about picking. And our picking is quite manually because we cannot use tractors. Our landscape is made by hills, terraces, so we have not space to move around the field with big tractors. So we usually use kind of mechanical rakes that shakes the upper part of the tree. So shaking the branches, olives fall down where we have big nets, and then we collect them in kind of medium baskets that usually contains around 350 kilos of olives. Then right after the picking, olives are in the baskets and we have to bring them at the mill around 4 hours, not more, because that way we can stop fermentation. I mean, fermentation is one of the main enemy of the quality of the oil, because whenever the olives get fermented, they are going to get damaged in the good aromas and good flavors that, naturally olives contain.
Yep.
So the olives arrive at the mill and then it start the process where we have the very first part that is just cleaning. So it's a preparation. We have to remove leaves, branches with a kind of blowing system, and then we have to wash the olives with a simple washing machine that sprays water on top of the olives. Then the olives enter into the mill where we have 4 machines, and as I said, Johnny works every day with the Pieralisi and Mori, the most famous company that produce machineries for the olive mill, to get like always the last new age technologies, because here is the excellence of the oil stays in the technologies and in the new technologies.
I was like, wow, this was very high tech. Like, I don't know what I was imagining, from like the old days where you saw the stone press being, moved around by horses or donkeys. It's quite high tech, and to see all the stainless steel and the shiny equipment and walk through that process was very impressive.
I know, and most of the time probably is not what you were expecting, right? As you said, right. I perfectly know that the old-fashioned oil mill with the big stone donkeys, as you said, or horses that run the machine, it's so fascinating and romantic. I perfectly know that. But at least this is not what permit us to take the right cares to the process to protect the oil and protect the aromas and flavors that are what distinguish a high quality extra virgin olive oil to a regular one. Not last, to preserve antioxidants, polyphenols that are the very benefits part of the oil. So what a high quality extra virgin olive oil permits you to have is a tasty, good and healthy product at the same time. And you know what is I think that is mostly surprising about extra virgin olive oil is that tastier it is, healthier it is. And probably that's the only product that permits you to have something so tasty and healthy at the same time.
I think one of the things, too, that surprised me about the process, or I guess it's not really but a fact, is when we talk about how much oil a tree produces. And you see these big trees and lots of olives, and you think, oh, it's a lot of oil. And it's like, what, a liter and a half of oil produced from like...
Well, it's different. Every year it changes. It depends on the harvest time. And, it's not just the landscape that is hilly, but most of the time, even the harvest time, every year it's hilly, because one year you have a very high production, and the other year you have whatever lack in production of olives, less percentage of conversion, so less oil into the olives. It's all depending on the weather. We are speaking about farming. We don't have to forget it. We are always speaking about farming, so it's all related to Mother Nature, and we cannot control it completely. But yes, usually in Chianti Classico area, olive trees produce between 20 up to 30 kilos per tree of olives. Mm-hmm. And the conversion stays between 10% to 13. So it's not a lot of oil.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
I was told that I had to learn that the trees, not every year they give the same amount of fruit. And so there's some, trees that they don't give anything almost. And then the next year they do have the better yield. And yeah.
Yeah, and well, let's continue a little bit on the process, because I interrupted you there a little. Is that they're washed, they're starting to be pressed, I think what also impressed me with the equipment is that I often wondered, like, do the pits of the olives get extracted? Do they get crushed? And how they get then removed and how the oil then comes out of at the end?
Sure. Yeah. So our decision is not to remove the pits. That's important. So the very first machine, once the olives enter the real process, is the crushing machine. So it is a machine made both of hammers and blade. So olives get or crushed and smashed or chopped, never the both, but always with a pit. So it means that pits get crushed or chopped with the olives. So what we got is a paste made of skin, pulp, pit, and full of small drops of olives. The reason why we preserve the pit is because it's not containing oil, of course, but somehow those gives like essential flavor to the oil. So somehow they are necessary in the paste to go ahead with the process. So this paste moved to the second machine called gramola. And unfortunately, there's not a translation for the olive meal production machine because no one cares. Production is made mainly in Mediterranean area, so no one cares about translating. The gramola is just a mixer. So there are big blade inside that turning very slowly mix the paste. So somehow the drops of oil get together. At the end of this mixing, what you can clearly distinguish are two consistencies, a liquid and a solid. So this paste now looks ready to go ahead in the third machine. That is probably the most surprising one because it looks like a space shuttle. Do you remember? It's like a space shuttle. It looks so complicated. It is, but to make it simple, we can describe it as a centrifuge. That turning fast and faster create a separation between the liquid and the solid, right? So liquid is what we are looking for. Solid is the waste. In terms of olive oil production, we usually don't consider it a real waste because we found a way to reuse it because the skin and pulp part is reused to produce biogas, biofuel. And pit part get dried and then we can reuse them in kind of stoves. Worldwide,
those pellets.
Right. It's not pellets, but they can be used as well as pellets.
It can be used as pellets to heat.
Exactly, to heat. But going back to the liquid part, we still have a mix of oil and water because water is naturally contained into the olive, So we have another centrifuge that now using the wave, it naturally separates water to the oil because water goes to the bottom, oil gets to the upper part, then there's a tube that brings the oil outside. And here we got the extra virgin olive oil.
No, I thought it was great because it's sort of like if I want to picture it to like the listeners, it's like when you think about like the old fashioned or even I guess washing machines and your laundry, you have the clothes and it spins, right? It's that spin cycle that pushes out the liquid and you have your clothes left. I mean, it's sort of the same concept that you're spinning it, it's separating the liquids and then you're further. And
like the salad spinner.
The salad spinner, even better.
It is, exactly like a salad spinner.
But then it also goes through like the filtering and the quality. And I think that was like really impressive to me that it's like what's coming out at the end oil is very pure. Like it's removed any of obviously the pits are removed and any other organic, but you guys put it through an extra filter to make sure that it's really pure oil.
Yeah, because what we got directly from the process is unfiltered. So what you can find in the market has unfiltered. So it contains some leftover, some remaining part of the pits, of the pulp, of the skin, because none of the machines that they met before the filtering part, it's filtered. It's just, as you said, salad spinner or whatever, So what you got has some impurities because these parts are not oil. So impurities usually stays in the bottom, goes to the bottle, creates sediments, and then again ferment. So we usually filter the oil. We always filter the oil after the process, so we remove those impurities, and the oil is able to last longer and safer, preserving high quality aromas and flavors. Together with this care, is important to highlight other two cares that we take through the process. The first one is the use of nitrogen. So all the machines are locked through the process because we have nitrogen inside, removing oxygen, stopping oxidation process that otherwise make us usually create a loss of aromas, flavors, and antioxidant. So it's extremely important to process the oil and the olives under nitrogen. And then we have the well-known, famous cold press.
Yes.
Now, give me a few seconds to speak about cold press, because cold press, I think, is one of the most abused marketing word of the extra virgin olive oil. It is important. Cold pressing the olives permit us to, again, preserve aromas and flavors unalterated. So it is extremely important. But now, cold press means that temperature into the machines has to remain lower than 27 Celsius. So it's not that cold, right?
Yep.
It's quite warm, first of all. Second of all, cold press is necessary, but it wouldn't mean nothing if not together all the other cares, together with nitrogen, filtering, starting the process in 4 hours. So it's not just cold press that permit you to have high quality extra virgin olive oil. It's the amount of cares, is checking step by step the process, and being sure about starting the process in 4 hours, cold pressing the olives, using nitrogen, filtering the oil, storing the oil in big tank with nitrogen inside, controlling temperature, then bottling the oil as we do, removing oxygen in the bottle, infusing nitrogen in the remaining part that we have between the oil and the closure, and then using dark glass bottle. You see, any step can damage the oil.
So one of the key things, we were saying, but let's take a minute maybe to define, is, I think maybe a misconception is, what does extra virgin actually mean? Because you'll see it on good bottles, not so good bottles, but understanding from that press, what is the definition of extra virgin olive oil, and should most people think of it?
Sure. I mean, it's a pleasure for me to say that, because, as I said, is the first information that basically, I think it gives all the tools that you need to know what to buy. So extra virgin olive oil, I will make it simple, dividing the definition in 3 parts. Okay. So the first one refers to the process. So it says that extra virgin olive oil is the oil that comes from the mechanical process of the olives, done with no use of chemicals and solvent additives. Somehow, as I said, the natural fruit juice of the olives.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not saying if it has to be done with the big stone and donkeys or the newest technologies machine, right? So you can use whatever.
Yep.
Then the second part goes deeper in all the chemical parameters that this liquid has to respect to be a real extra virgin olive oil. I won't spend a lot of time on that, because consumers won't find them on the bottles. Usually on the back label is where you find most of the information, but these chemical parameters are not on the bottle. They don't have to be on the bottle. So basically, something important to know is that acidity level should remain lower than the 0.8%, but it's useless, as I said, and you don't have to confuse this acidity level with an acid taste. It's the oleic acid content, so you cannot taste it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stays in the analysis, the result. So,
okay.
And then there's the last part of the definition that usually is the most unknown one, but what I found the most useful for consumers, because this part says that a real extra virgin olive oil has to be with no bad flavors and bad aromas.
Okay.
Okay. Whose definition?
Yes.
So this part gives you tools because now, first of all, you have two possibilities of something that is real. First one, an oil that is flat in terms of flavors and aromas. No flavors, no aromas. But I mean, no bad ones.
Right.
And on the other hand, an oil full of good aromas and good flavors. Here usually stays the difference between high quality extra virgin olive oil and the regular industrial one. When I'm speaking about industrial, I'm referring to like big mass production extra virgin olive oil.
Let's talk about that a little bit because I was, in Italy, there's a high consumption of olive oil. But I think what we grow here in Italy is not sufficient to make it for everyone.
To fill the demand.
Yeah, to fill the demand. Yeah. So now so we are importing a lot of olives from other countries like Spain, Turkey, Greece, even as far as for Tunisia, I think, in Africa. And is that what, corporations like the big producers are using to actually put in the supermarkets? Or
good question. I mean, I like this question, but I have to be careful about how I'm answering, honestly. So let's start from the first point. The main difference between artisan producer and big mass producers stays in the quality of the product. What we are looking for is the best aromas, the best flavors, and the healthiest product we could give to you. What they are looking for is to get the most to sell the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
So here stays the difference from the consumers, the price and the quality. I would say the quality and the price from my point of view. This is the right order of importance. Then I'm not sure that in Italy we are not producing enough to fill the demand.
Okay, maybe that's just a myth we've heard.
Yeah, so
I know, but I think that is what we are producing, like high quality extra virgin olive oil, it's considered too expensive. Because if you look number from the other side, you will see that a lot of high quality extra virgin olive oil get exported to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow, if we were not exporting this oil, keeping it in Italy, we will probably fill the demand. But this product is somehow felt like too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not because it's overpriced.
Yeah, I think that the big difference, just to close production here, I think for example, in Puglia or Calabria, they have like acres of olive trees. They are all like in line. They are planted in line. So they machineries has access to those trees, like big machines that they shake the tree, so the harvest goes fast. So meaning goes fast. You can produce a cheaper oil because the cost is not that high.
Sure.
Versus you guys are picking by hand or with the little shaker that goes up, and so it takes more time. And time is essence, and that's why your oil.
And you got it.
Yeah.
And you got it. You get the value. So you get the reason why we are always speaking about extra virgin olive oil, but it has to be with a different price because it has different production costs.
Yep.
So it get more expensive at least. As I said, it was a hard question to answer.
No,
it is. But I mean, like expanding on that, I mean, I think the quality is obviously super important. And, as I witnessed the process and, and understood what comes out as the final product, what also was like the maybe bigger aha moment for me was that the olive, there's different varietals of olives and therefore different types of olive oil. And I guess, can you talk a little bit about how like the different olives have different flavors? And we
Sure.
did go into the tasting next, but I mean, that difference between like that peppery or sometimes they're buttery and I'm like, oh, aha, they're like grapes. Like you have Chianti, you have, I mean, the Barolo wines, like there's all different types of wines, but I didn't think, oh, there's different types of olives and they would taste different and then produce different flavors of olive oil. So I don't know, maybe let's educate people on that a little bit.
Yeah, this will help consumers to understand what to buy. I mean, that way they can know how to select the right oil for them. Because extra virgin olive oil is not all the same.
Yep.
First of all, distinguish high quality and regular ones. But then among the high quality extra virgin olive oil full of flavors and aromas, as you said, there are different varieties. And in Italy, we have over 350 different varieties of olives. Each one of them with different. I mean, it's a lot. And each one of them has a different shade of flavor and aromas, intensity, time of ripeness. I mean, during the 2 months and a half of harvest time, all the different varieties get ripe at different time of ripeness. And then you can work with the ripeness. I mean, you can play with them, picking them a bit earlier or later, getting stronger or softer flavors and aromas. So, I mean, a lot of differences that then are reflected into the extra virgin olive oil.
Yep.
So, and they affect the taste of the oil. So, first of all, you can use all those varieties producing blends or monocultivar like we are doing.
Yep.
We have around 10, 12 blends and 3 monocultivars. So blends are made by a mix of different varieties. And blends can be done by chance, like it was done in the past. So they just pick whatever and press all the different varieties together, getting a blend done by chance with no purpose in terms of flavors and aromas. What we are doing nowadays in our company is blending the oils after. So we usually process the variety separately and then we create the blend in order to keep the taste behind each label basically the same through the year and through the years. I mean, every year you will find the same flavor behind the Intenso, the Leggero, or so on. On the other hand, monocultivars. Monocultivars are oil made by a singular variety. So, like we are doing Lecchino, Moraiolo, and Frantoio. So we are trying to give to consumers the pure expression of that variety in that harvest. I'm not saying that one kind is better than the other. I'm just saying that they are producing differently. So like blends are the expression of harmony of flavors that we create. Monocultivar are the expression of a variety. And monocultivar usually helps you understanding how different are the varieties. Like the Lecchino, that is the kind of medium, mild, soft, a bit peppery in the back taste. And then there's the Moraiolo, that is the pure expression of the increasing taste of pepper. So it actually tastes like pepper. It gives you a king of pepper in the back, starting from a pink pepper, going to the black, intense pepper taste. And then you have the Frantoio with a lingering and bitter taste, long-lasting, intense taste, followed by a peppery, green pepper taste in the back. Long-lasting, perfect for the T-bone steak or whatever, the Fiorentina steak, here famous in Tuscany, or the ribollita soup. So,
love that.
And somehow knowing different varieties, knowing that you can find different oil with different flavors, different intensity, permits you, first of all, to understand that you can always find the oil that suits you better. And then you can somehow need to taste the oil to understand what you like. Because most of the time, the reason why a good oil, goes bad with the recipe or you don't like it while you are tasting it, is not because it's the oil bad. It's just the food pairing that is not the right one, or the oil that is not definitely meeting your taste and your preferences. Because if you don't like bitterness, you cannot go for the Frantoio oil that is bitter, like artichokes on the tongue, in the mouth, you should go more with a moraiolo, peppery, or with a leggero. If you cannot handle the peppery aftertaste, you should go for the leggero that is not that intense and spicy in the back. So,
well, I feel like, again, it's so much like wine, right? Some people, there's no good or bad wine. Some people prefer white wine. Some people prefer red wine. Some people prefer a strong Cabernet Sauvignon. Others want a smoother Pinot Noir. It's all about personal taste. But I think, too, what always impresses me, and, when you talk about the blends, is also with wine. They're blending varietals. I think there are certain ones that, a Chianti has to have like 80-90% of a Sangiovese, and there are rules sometimes. But for like an IGT, I would compare to like blending olive oil. That's the beauty of the oil maker or the wine maker, is deciding which grapes and how much to blend together. And they're being creative and they're working with the flavors and creating their recipes. And then that's what you value from certain wines or olive oils, is the creativity and the masterness of the maker, right? And saying, oh, let's put a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But some people want the pureness, to your point, of I just want a pure varietal, and others want the fun and the creativeness of the blender.
Yeah. I would like to say that there's a real difference a crucial difference between wine and oil. You can age wine, but you can't age oil.
Yep.
And this is crucial because basically most of the time the blending in wine is not just done between grapes, but even between different harvests. So somehow, if a harvest is not that perfect, you can correct it with a better harvest. We cannot do it with oil because the new harvest will always be better than the old one, because oil cannot be aged, because after 1 year the oil it's considered old.
So most people then after a year they use the oil to cook.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. In Italy, that's a real Italian habit, because I've been tasting our old extra virgin olive oil after 1 year and a half, and following the way of preservation that we have, actually our oil is extremely tasty even after 2 years, I would say, and still high quality. But of course, it's considered an old one. So a real Italian habit is usually to go for the new one, has a finishing, has a dressing, has the real ingredient of a recipe, but the old one for cooking. Somehow, in order not to waste the extremely intense and high quality flavor of the new one, but still using an old, but still good extra virgin olive oil with all the benefits of cooking, sauteing, or whatever, with extra virgin olive oil instead of other kind of fat,
I think most Italians have like bigger quantities of olive oil that is used for cooking, which is probably older than a year. My mom is like that. She has like tin cans of 5 liters. And then the good stuff is to finish salads or put on steak or put on fish or...
I need to point this out to, I guess, our even American listeners. Like in the US, everyone is putting either like a steak sauce or a ketchup on their meat.
Oh, God. Okay.
And yes, coming here to realize like the best way to finish meat or to the soups, to your point, is to drizzle really good olive oil on top of it. And it really enhances. And so to me, that was like another aha moment of how to get the best and how to appreciate oil. Like I just never knew it could be so flavorful and so good that you actually want to have those flavors, on top of your food and not just make salad dressing, but it's the best steak sauce ever.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I'm used to say with my American friends, because most of the time they said, when I'm in the US, they ask me, do you want to add some sauce? No, I don't want it. I have my premium sauce that is extra virgin olive oil. And I think that's the reason why there's these habits to say that Italians dress everything with olive oil. And this is not, we will never put olive oil on top of a carbonara, for example, right?
No.
Because we don't need it. Thank you, David. But wherever in the US or worldwide, because Northern European as well, we'll put a sauce. We use extra virgin olive oil. Somehow we don't need to create any sauce because we have the best one from our point of view to dress it, the healthiest one somehow. So as well as in the US, for example, you will use mustard, ketchup and mayonnaise and whatever. We will use extra virgin olive oil. And that's it. And most of the time, I think that it's related to the way of cooking that we have. So we usually saute with olive oil in the pan. So basically, everything gets saucy with keeping the flavor. And so we don't have to add flavor to whatever already contains flavor. Mm-hmm. So we just have to enhance the flavor with extra virgin olive oil.
I have one thing to say about this.
Okay.
Because I think it's really important. In the US, they use steak sauce and ketchup and all those sauces not to enhance. Originally, not to enhance. It's to mask. Because in the old days when there was no refrigeration, they invented steak sauce or ketchup to mask
that the meat doesn't taste good?
That the meat wasn't tasting good because it wasn't refrigerated. So when they cooked it, it didn't taste good. So they had to invent this sauce to mask the bad taste of meat. Now
that's the way we created cured meat. We had the same problem. In Italy, we create salumi, salami. So the way, or prosciutto, or carne salada in the northern part of Italy, it was created because we had to find a way preserve meat through time. So in the US, they found a way to cover and mask the taste. We found a way to preserve it.
But I would say also, because today, we don't have necessarily an issue with bad meat, but I think people overcook it and it's dry. And so then they use sauces to
make it juicy.
To enhance it.
Right. So anyway, the other thing that, I think a key point to talk about that I, witnessed in your tasting room is to your point of understanding what are your preferences, right? Do you like this type of variety or versus that variety? And that's to do an olive oil tasting. And it never occurred to me before going to and experiencing this for myself that was a thing. Like we're so used to going to wineries and doing a wine tasting to see, well, do I like this wine or do I like that wine? Do I want the Reserva? So it was fun to do an olive oil tasting. So let's share a little bit about that. And I think the fun things that stood out to me is that you don't have big wine glasses. You're not like gulping big things of olive oil, but these little itty bitty kind of shot glasses. And you have each of the oils in there, and then you had to warm them up in your hand. So tell us about like that process and why is it important? And then I'll have Davide also show us how we do the slurping.
Yeah, it's to get
but it was
to get air into the oil.
It was a really fun process, and I love this. So that to me was learning about oil, but then the tasting of it was a fun experience.
Yeah, the tasting part, it's similar to a professional tasting part. So we do the strippaggio, the weird sound that you made, and this part is necessary for you to mix oil with saliva, so it permits to the oil to touch your tasting buds, spreading the oil in each part of your mouth, so that way you can definitely taste all the flavors of the oil. So first of all, as you said, it's done in very small little glasses. In a professional tasting are usually colored, because the color of the oil is not giving you any information about the real quality of the product. But then the step of the tasting are like two. You have to warm it up for a while using your hands, so like your body temperature, and this will enhance the aromas that the oil contains. So it's like a help to your smell to better feel all the natural characteristics of the oil. And this is what good characteristics means in the definition. Good aromas and good flavors are the ones that remind us about nature. as the extra virgin olive oil is. It's a natural product. It comes from fruits, and it's the natural fruit juice of the olives. So good aromas are the ones that remind about grass, fruits, vegetables, herbs. Bad aromas are all the ones that remind us about, for example, rancid taste or age and alterated aromas. And the same for flavors. All the flavors that remind us about fruits, herbs, and vegetables are the good ones. And what remind us about artificial taste is considered not good for the oil. So then the first step is bringing the glass to your nose, smelling, keeping the aromas inside of the oil. Then you don't need to be that professional. You just need to understand if the oil reminds you about nature or not. This is the real important part. Then the parts that follows, the stripaggio, so keeping drops of oil, mixing, sipping, and then swallowing. This is the parts that give you the possibility, first of all, to understand if the oil is a real and good one, and then to understand if you like it or not. As you said, I can taste different oil because here in the room we have different oils. You can taste them, and then you can understand which one you like the best.
I know we kind of talked about this, but I guess to boil all this down, I know we've given a lot of great information about like the quality and the taste, but are there some key factors like one can know when they're limited to going into a supermarket to identify what is a good olive oil or not? Like, what are some tips we can give people either about purchasing it or at least maybe storing it? What are some indicators?
Sure. Lot of indicators, but no one is the final one. I mean, first of all, I'm used to say that label is not giving you anything about, has a final definition about the content of the product. So taste is always crucial. So tasting the oil, I'm not saying to be in the supermarket doing like and so on, but somehow buying an oil like blind, so with no idea about the flavors and the aromas, is not really giving you an idea of what you're buying. So you should go better in places that usually permit you to try the oil. Okay. And as I said to a tourist a lot of years ago, if you find yourself happy with a producer because you met him, taste the oil together, discover how they produce, go ahead until someone else permits you to know everything about the process like he did. And this is important because having the possibility of knowing the company, touching with your hands and looking with your eyes, seeing with your eyes how they produce, it's important. Give you a real idea of the truth and the trust. Then another thing that might be helpful for you somehow is the price. I would say that is the last thing, because it's always true that you can find a high quality product sold. You cannot find a high quality product sold with a cheap price because it's impossible to be produced, but you can always find a bad product sold with a high price. So, I mean, price can be an indication, but not.
I think that the one thing that I'm looking for when I don't have access to oil, that I have to go to the supermarket and I want to buy somewhat the best quality, is also to see when it was produced, so the production year. So if it's a great producer, they're going to put the date, it's 2025 or 2024. So then at least, okay, it's from last harvest or it's from a year ago. So then at least, it's already a year old and we are back to...
I mean, it's not a reason of being a good producer. If you are producing an oil coming from the same, if the oil in the bottle, it's all from the same harvest, you have to write it on the back. So you usually write like the last oil produced, the 2025 harvest, usually have 2025, 2026. So we
Yeah.
don't have to be confused by this way of writing the harvest time, but we have to write the year of production and the year of selling, because we are selling the oil mainly in 2026, until new harvest, so October. If the bottle is not showing you the harvest year, it means that the oil is inside is a mix of different year.
The other thing I'm looking for is where is the olive oil? Is it in a bottle or is it in a tin can? Is it in a plastic bottle? So the best, I think it's to keep it dark, right? When we want to store it in a dark. So the tin can is probably the better, or a very dark bottle.
Right. So
if you
tin can,
Yeah.
dark bottles, or bagging box. Now you know that people are now selling the oil in bagging box, so like the wine ones, but made
Yeah.
for the oil. Those are all good. Way to preserve the oil, because as you said, the oil has to be kept out of the light. So dark glass bottle, metal tin, or bagging box are fine. Plastic bottle, even if dark, are not good ones. And then clear bottle, of course, are not the right one. Another common question is, should I store it in the refrigerator because hot temperature can damage it? You don't need it. And you don't have to, because if the oil gets frost, then you have to defrost it and you're warming it up. So, you don't need to put in the fridge or refrigerator, whatever. Just keep the bottle close in a dark cupboard. So be sure about not forgetting it next to the stoves, to the fire, or like in front of the window with the sun that enter. These are the best way to preserve the oil.
Well, I do think, though, kind of going back to the tasting, and I kind of want to draw this into like from a traveler perspective, why should visiting a Frantoio be part of the experience? And if they can't get to the actual Frantoio and the production, working in an experience to like go to your tasting room in Florence or in Greve, I guess I can speak to it from my own experience, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on, why should travelers prioritize having an experience like this when they're in Italy?
I think that, first of all, because no one is giving, abroad Italy, no one is giving travelers the same awareness about the product as they will find here. And then getting awareness about extra virgin olive oil, it's getting information about how to start a healthy lifestyle. Because using extra virgin olive oil in our everyday life, and first of all, knowing how to buy it, where to buy it, how to select it, and how to avoid bad oils and so on, is the real change of life, because it's giving you a healthy habits and an addition of flavors to your meal every day. And then don't have to forget that we also have kind of experience that includes the estate, so the fields, and the last in that we have as an experience is Make Your Olive Oil. That is an experience that even permits you to experiment how to blend your own olive oil.
Nice.
So
for people that don't come to Italy or can't come to Italy, but want to try your oil, can they buy it?
Sure.
On your website?
Online. We have two websites. We have one that is the .it, so www.pruneti.it, and this one is the one that basically permits you to order from Italy and worldwide. And then we have a new website for the US. So we have the www.pruneti.com, that is just for the US consumers, and you can buy our product from Italy or from the US warehouse, because we have three of our products, the Lecchino, Frantoio, and the PGI Tuscan certificated, that is in the US. We have a warehouse in the US, so you can order it, avoiding shipping cost and getting it in 48 hours at most. So somehow, if you have a friend's dinner and you forget about a gift, you can always order the Pruneti oil and get it and giving them as a gift. Yeah.
I love that. No, and that was really one of the attractions. One, I really loved the experience of coming out to the Pruneti Frantoio and watching the production and experiencing the tasting, but also making it available to others. And so we're blessed to be here in Italy, that there are so many, olive oil producers, the mom and pop down the road, but it's hard to get the good quality. So knowing in trusting the Pruneti, I wanted to kind of share this with our audience and make sure that they have access to it, if they want to go onto your website and not have to wait until coming to Italy or be confused when they go into the supermarket, what they're getting and what they're not. Like, this is a good way to share a little bit of what we love about Italy with others. So I wanted to make sure we could tell this story, but also, promote a trusted brand.
Yeah, thank you. I think that what you're doing is crucial, because you give us, you share your experience with your audience. And as you said, if you don't have the possibility to come here, someone like you that have already experienced it, it's, fundamental.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love it. So thank you so much for joining us and telling us all that you know about olive oil. And, I'm sure our listeners are coming away with a lot of knowledge, and will think a little bit differently about olive oil.
Necessary knowledge, yes.
It's like, once you have the good stuff, you really,
you can't go back.
You can't go back. And so I always people who don't love wine and they come here, but I love the wine now. I'm like, because you're getting good wine. Same thing with olive oil. So thank you for helping to share the awareness.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was really fascinating. I thought that I knew a lot about olive oil, but I learned a lot of new information today, Tanya.
Yeah, me too. And honestly, my biggest takeaway is that olive oil deserves the same respect we give wine. There are the different varietals, the different blends, different intensities, and there's real craftsmanship behind it. That olive oil maker is just as crafty as the winemaker, and I loved it. And the tasting experience alone is something most travelers don't even realize exists.
Yeah, and I had no idea you could taste olive oil the same way you taste wine, just using a different technique. So
yeah, no, it was all fascinating. And, once you understand what fresh, high quality olive oil actually tastes like, it's really hard to go back. And we mentioned this in the interview, but for those of you listening who are thinking, okay, now I need better olive oil in my life, we'll include a link to Pruneti in the show notes. We mentioned they ship internationally, so you don't have to wait for your next trip to Italy to experience this great oil. But if you are coming to Tuscany, I really do recommend visiting a Frantoio, especially during harvest season. It's such a unique, immersive experience, and it really connects you to the land, the culture, and food in just a completely, different new way.
I completely agree, Tanya. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank Katy again. Thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure to meet you, even virtually. And we had some difficulties with our software, and we had to go back to a different software. Plus, Katy was in an office.
She's in the real world.
I know. And so you heard the phone ring, and her colleague sometimes was also having conversations with clients probably. And I couldn't edit everything out, but so that's why you hear that.
I'm sure it's just fine.
Anyway, so we are at the end of this episode, but before we ending it, as usual, we have tips from Tanya. Tips from Tanya. All right, Tanya. So what's your tip this week?
Okay, well, this one is slightly unrelated, but also very related. Because if you're going to visit wineries and Frantoio in Tuscany, you need to be comfortable driving here. And, recently I've been having a lot of conversations with clients, and they're nervous and really hesitant to rent a car here in Tuscany. And I don't know, Davide, maybe we've scared everyone a little in previous episodes when we talked about ZTL zones or Italian drivers. But, here's the honest truth. If you want to experience Tuscany properly, and by that I mean slowly and spontaneously, you really do need a car. And, the countryside, the wineries, the olive groves, these small hill towns, just public transportation just doesn't quite cut it. It just makes it, far more inefficient. And relying on private drivers for multiple days gets very expensive very quickly because, again, they kind of charge out by the hour.
Yeah.
So it gets pricey.
Guys, honestly, I don't think you don't have to sweat it. It's fine. We survived.
We do. And, it's really not as scary as you think. I mean, the roads between towns are beautiful. The pace is slower. You're not navigating a major city. You're driving through vineyards and olive groves. And, if you avoid driving inside the big cities, you don't want to be driving in Florence or Siena. And if you understand how the ZTL zones work, just never enter a historic center and, take your time. There's no rushing. Driving a car here is actually part of the adventure, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. You can stop for views, pull over at a small winery, visit a family-run Frantoio, have lunch in a tiny village you didn't plan on. So you just can't do that easily by bus or inexpensively with a car service.
Yeah, just, rent a car and see the real Tuscany.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, I help my clients understand where to park, how to plan routes, and how to avoid common mistakes. But I really say, really encourage you, if you're going to come to Tuscany, embrace the car. It really opens, a lot more doors to the experiences we talked about today.
I remember I wrote a guide once upon a time.
You did. And we had a whole episode we talk about it.
Yeah. And it's on our website too. You can just download it and, read it. So anyway, so whether it's wine, olive oil, putting down roots in a small Tuscan town, it all comes back to the land.
It really does. The longer we live here, the more we realize that so much of Italian culture starts with what grows in the soil and the pride people take in turning it into something beautiful. Like there really is such family pride. Mm-hmm. And even, as we go to the different wineries around town here, they all have their own olive oil too. And
yes,
they have my oil, you need mine. Mine's better.
Yeah. And, let me assure you something. Once you tasted that fresh, tasty olive oil, you'll never go back. Never.
No. So everyone, thank you so much again for listening. If you're planning a trip to Tuscany and want to include experiences such as visiting a Frantoio, tasting exceptional olive oil, or exploring the countryside at your own pace, I'd love to help you design something meaningful.
Grazie for spending time with us, and we'll see you. And we will see you in the next episode of Experience Italy with Friends. And if you have questions about driving in Italy or about olive oil, reach out to our Facebook page. So,
yes.
Thank you.
Arrivederci.
Grazie.
Ciao,
ciao. Ciao.
We hope you've enjoyed Experience Italy with Friends. If you like the podcast, remember to follow us and leave a review letting us know what you found to be the most helpful. And if you want expert advice or assistance in creating your own immersive and authentic experience in Italy, visit us at www.amicivacations.com.